Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, enemies and friends, welcome to the show that never ends. You are tuned in to On the Reel, where we like to keep you up to date on the latest in the world of TV and movies. Joining me today is my brother from the same mother, Mr. Johnson. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm good. I'm used to you introducing K. Asante first.
I got to switch it up. Switch it up.
Man, switch it up on him. What's up?
How you doing today, good sir?
I'm alive, man. Rona free.
Hey,
good.
That's it. Did you check for the variant though?
Hey man, I don't go outside, bro.
Okay. All right.
That's it.
All right.
Mr.
TK0. How are you doing today, sir?
And the slander continues.
Oh, you know what? I got it. I just thought about it. I'm gonna start calling you TK Kirkland.
Stop it.
That's it.
That is an insult.
That is your new name.
Stop it. Needless to say, I'm doing fine, man. I'm doing fine. It's been a busy day, busy week, but I'm here. We're about to talk some movies and TV, so I'm good for it. Let's do this.
Happy to hear it. All right. We actually, this morning I was crying in the private chat about how we didn't have anything to talk about today. And then as it turns out, we had a ton of things to talk about today.
A bunch of stuff, man.
So we're going to be all over the place. I want to start with what we are watching. We're going to use this to review several movies. And so since we called on you first today, Mr. Johnson, the first movie, I already know what you're watching. I'm going to introduce it for you, is Space Jam. This is the sequel. I don't know if it's a sequel or a reboot or the squeakquel to Michael Jordan's Space Jam from the 90s, where they got the top basketball player at the time to work with the Looney Tunes, who were a lot more popular back then than they are today. Why don't you give us your take on this movie, Space Jam? Before you start, I just want to preface this with I have not watched the movie. Kay, I don't know if you watched the movie.
I have, yes.
Yeah, okay, so you two guys can talk about it. But I'm seeing a lot of grown men who watched this when they were kids, kids, mad at it today.
That's right.
That it is not like up to today's
rose-colored
adult standards. Yes,
indeed.
So what I'm here to say is that the Michael Jordan movie was corny. If you go back and look at it, but now tell us about Space Jam 2021.
Please take it away, sir.
I will say this: it's a kids' movie. Adults shouldn't be judging this movie, but still, adults got to sit there with their kids if you took them to theaters to watch it and enjoy it. I will say this about the movie: it's something to watch.
it's something to watch. This is high praise.
On the real quote, box quote, something to watch.
There's spectacle, there's flashing lights and all of that stuff, but it's like simpleton stuff. I would say that the original movie had more charm. It's not that Michael Jordan is a better actor than LeBron James. It's that LeBron is not likable in this movie. Like, he's a jerk. He's a bad parent. He doesn't believe in his kids' dreams. He wants his kids to be like him. But it's just it's difficult to root for LeBron in the movie because he comes off like such a douche. But still.
I was gonna say he sounds like me.
Oh man! If you don't root for him, all of humanity is doomed. So you have to root for him, even though you don't like him. If you already didn't like LeBron James, it will make you like him less. But with that said, get your money. There were parts of it that made me laugh, but there was one part that was good. Well, I'm a spoiler anyway, but when they actually brought up that they played with Michael Jordan and they tried to get Michael Jordan to help, but it was Michael B. Jordan. That shit was hilarious because I didn't expect that shit. That is like the only part of the movie that I really laughed. I felt like it was stupid. It was really stupid, but it's a kids movie. But even still, it's one of the dumbest kids movies I've ever seen. But the bar is set lower, and get your money, LeBron. Not mad at it. What are your thoughts, Kay?
So yeah, by and large, I agree with you. I would say it is the evolution that you should have expected not the evolution that we wanted. There is a world in which they take this old thing, right? Because everybody used to watch it was a kid, right? And then since the kids are now
18 when the first one came out, so I wasn't a kid.
Sure, I wasn't. Yeah, exactly. I wasn't like a kid, but it was meant for children when it came, right? And clearly, those children watch it. And of course, you were saying it's not that Michael Jordan's a bad actor or LeBron's a bad actor. From their work, respectively, I will say LeBron is a better actor than Michael Jordan because he has other work that he has done that he's actually pretty damn good at. This one, not his vehicle for sure. You're right. It's like they purposely make him come off really bad, And I wish they had remembered who. Yes, it's very self-aware. I wish they had remembered who this was for, because it could have been a situation where, the original audience was younger, and then now that original audience has children, they'll bring them to go see it, right? But then you can speak to the original audience plus have something for the new audience, and that's not what this is. This is definitely, you watched this when you were in your teens or when you were a kid. Well, you're no longer who we're speaking to. We're speaking to your kids, and we're going to use the same dumb, shallow language as we did back in the 90s.
Kids nowadays like video games. They don't really watch,
exactly,
cartoons like that. So we're going to speak to them through video games. It's going to be trendy and hip. Algae.
It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same, like bonehead. I wouldn't call it specifically boneheaded, but it's exactly the same kind of
how they treat
shallow thinking.
Movies.
Yeah.
Well, video game movies are better than this. They use shallow thinking to put this together, and in the 90s that made sense. What doesn't make sense is that they kept that same thinking when they made the newer one. They should have evolved the formula a bit. And the fact that like Ryan Coogler is even remotely somewhere associated with this thing makes me go, how did they use him? He's usually pretty smart about these things.
I mean, he didn't direct it.
No, he's a producer, not associate, right? Not executive. He actually produced it. So
meaning they use his. You don't know how hands-on.
Yeah. Producers usually do more. It's not executive
right now.
If it was executive, then I thought he just kind of sprinkled this stuff. But usually producers, like a regular producer, gets in there. I don't know how much of the script and the direction he can change, but it's not a bad film. It's just a missed opportunity, in my opinion.
So let me say one more thing. I feel like it was hot garbage.
Damn.
let me.
No. When I say it's not a bad film, I mean it's not a bad film for the audience that it's meant for. Not for us. It's not a bad film for the audience that it was meant for.
It doesn't really make sense. Like, even in the end, when they're playing the game to save humanity, there's no clear-cut rules for it. Like how the kid just got like 1,000 points. But then after that, like the Looney Tunes, when they caught up, they did something crazy, but they kept doing crazy
now you're using your adult brain to once again judge this film, which we've already agreed is not to be judged by us.
For me to follow it, anybody following it, it's just they're like, how do you know whatever? It's just they're like, okay, it's worth this many points because we need the movie to end.
The bar here is set to, will the kids laugh and enjoy the fun cartoons on the screen? Yes.
Can I say something? Can I interject as someone
go ahead.
Has not watched this film?
Mm-hmm.
I think that argument is bullshit, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
You are not selling this movie to today's kids because they never heard of Space Jam. You're selling it to me.
Yes,
exactly.
Also,
which is the mistake they made.
Generation. LeBron is still
which is the mistake they made. 100%.
Almost 40 years old.
No, you're 100% right. Emma Boyd, you're absolutely right. That's, like I said, that's the mistake they made. They did not come into this thinking, hey, those kids we sold this to, they're now adults, so we should speak to them and then also throw something in there for their kids.
And Pixar and Marvel do this all the time.
Constantly.
They forgot that lesson from multiple levels of people. You got to play to the cheap seats as well as the expensive seats, because those are the people that are buying these things, and that's how you hit those numbers. You can't just
I'll preface my judgment of it by saying if I had bought this movie ticket and went to a theater, I'd be mad and want my money back. But I didn't. It's part of a subscription that I just turned on and it was just available. So that may make me go, whatever. You know what I'm saying? If this was judged by standard movie going, a standard movie going schedule, like, hey, you paid your $30 plus popcorn and all that BS. Yeah, this is a problem.
Yo, if
as it just is something to be watched by children on a subscription service, it's not as garbage. And the reason why people say it's garbage is because they're coming to it with their expectations, and those expectations will be dashed right away. So that's why
going into it, I expected it to be garbage.
Okay, well, there you go.
So it's like my expectations were met.
I disagree, because you can look at a movie like, let's say, The Mitchells versus the Machines,
exactly,
which played on multiple levels.
That was,
but again, Mitchell's versus the Machine was built for movie theaters. They just kind of happened to fall into this realm. Exactly. But no, I hear y'all. Y'all right. Y'all absolutely
Mitchell's versus the Machine was built for Netflix.
I think it was built for movie theaters.
The Machines was like top tier family entertainment.
Yeah, but I think it was built for movie theaters and then got sold to Netflix, if I'm not mistaken. Am I wrong? I thought I heard that.
Yeah, but that's the same can be said for Space Jam.
Oh, so it wasn't. It was originally meant to be like it was going to be theater only, big budget.
Yeah,
it was never meant to be.
And then the T-virus happened.
Well, in that case, okay, sure. If you force me to put a number on it, the number will be lower than 5. I'll tell you that.
The movie was supposed to come out like a year and a half ago.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Like this is not.
So yeah,
it's not an excuse.
So your children might like it, but it's not worth watching for you. That's literally the review.
LeBron, his acting was very terrible. Like his acting consisted of because he's done better. I've seen him do better.
I have seen him do well enough to go, yo, this man got talent. And now I'm like, huh? Yeah.
Looking at his hands, like even when he turned back to normal, regular, he's there looking at his hands like everything happened. He's like that face all the time.
Indeed.
It was terrible. It lacked the charm of the original. It didn't have the charm of, say, a Roger Rabbit or even the original movie. You know,
how do you
like even like
go ahead.
Because they had all these characters to where they could use all of these movie characters. Because you see when they were playing the game, you seen like 80s freaking Batman.
That's
Joker,
when it lost me. Yeah. That's when it lost me. When they first came in and LeBron was like, "What about this character? What about that character?" And it kept defaulting back to the Looney Tunes characters. I'm like, nah, I'm not with this. This is a
that's stuff for us. So if you're gonna, if the audience is us for you to do that stuff, make the movie better.
Yeah, they could have made the movie better. They chose not to.
It was like
and honestly, you can tell
better than this.
You can tell because they have an included game that they made as part of this promotional period of the movie. The game is as bad as the game as the movie is. They did not spend
even
time.
The toys are terrible.
It's definitely a cash grab. Or so it seems.
It's not even toys nowadays have like 30 points of articulation.
Now I will push back on one statement that you said a little bit. The fact that the other one, the first one had more charm. The first one was unique. The only one we had seen before that was Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah,
so it was kind of like, hey, this is unique.
Rabbit.
Now everyone knows exactly what to expect. So it should have evolved the formula. And since they didn't, that's why it seems like it lost its charm. Everybody knows the formula already, so it is what it is.
All right.
It'll make the money it made and then move on.
So I want to think just a random point that Eddie Murphy was supposed to be in that movie and he turned it down. He's like, damn,
wow.
When he saw how good it was, he's like, damn.
He was like, no, thank you.
He could have done it would have been.
I'm going to make Bad Boys
for
Life.
Hoskins did a great job, but if Eddie Murphy had done it, it would have been wow, man. It'd have been totally different.
Yeah. All right. So I do want to move on to the next thing because we got a lot to cover tonight. So this one is you, Mr. TK Kirkland. A Quiet Place 2. You watched it. I think we all of us watched this, so we can all speak to this one.
When did you watch it?
When did I watch this? We watched it on Friday.
Okay. I didn't
watch with you,
today.
But I watched it on my own.
Oh, you watched it?
I remember watching. Yes, I remember watching this.
So if you watched it today, I just want to ask you: are you still angry at those dumbass kids?
No, I watched it over like a couple days ago. But okay, I was angry.
Hold on. I want to give this to Kate, and then I'm gonna come to you, and then I'll jump in at the end. This one's for you, Kay.
The kids are not surprising. They are as dumb as movie kids usually are. So I wasn't surprised at that. I wasn't like throwing my hands in the air like, what the hell's wrong with y'all?
Curses.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't expecting any more intelligence from them because yes, they made some, even the parents made some really stupid,
like
decisions.
having a baby in the apocalypse.
Hey man, you don't know when the apocalypse is gonna come. Maybe 6 months ago, maybe a while ago. It was good.
No. This is after this apocalypse. They did it, and he knocked up his wife.
Yeah,
they brought a baby into the world because they were
post-apocalypse, right?
Because they lost their first dumbass son because of their dumbass daughter. But go ahead.
Yeah. So okay. Within the context of the film itself is a pretty. It's a good part 2 to this story. You know, if you haven't seen part 1,
literally right after.
Yes, if you haven't seen part 1, you really can't watch this and have a full picture. I mean, they try. The world building is still relatively decent here, and they still try to really fill things in for you. I will say I liked the part 1 better than 2 because part 1 really like held that suspense. You didn't know until you knew, and it took a while for them to get to really share it with you. And so the whole time it was, how long can you go in silence? And I actually watched this in the theaters, part 1. So just a theater full of silence, just hush. It was really, really good. It really
except for when somebody starts chewing their nachos,
or some asshole forgets to turn off the cell phone.
Oh man. I remember that during the first movie. It's just like, yo.
This movie is a reminder of why things need to stay day and date, which we will talk about later. But anyway, I keep cutting you off.
Needless to say, no, please, it's all good. Needless to say, yeah, the film itself, as a continuation, it was really good. I would say it's a strong companion to the first. It's not a movie that I can see that stands on its own well. But as a companion to the part 1, it is darn good. Meaning, don't go in thinking I missed part 1, but I want to see part 2. Yeah, you'll be able to follow along, but there's some parts that you really should watch the first one. Acting was top notch from all involved. I always think that like all the actors are very top tier. You can tell children do a good enough job. They make stupid decisions, but that's more script based and more director based. But I think this was pretty great. I think this was a good addition to what we already had. That's my opinion on it.
Okay.
What do you think?
No, it's Mr. Johnson.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Mr. Johnson, go for it.
Yes, I agree with your points, but let me piggyback off of that. The kids were just as stupid as they were in the first one because
so there's nothing new. That's right.
The same day, it's the same night or whatever. So it's just that,
what were you expecting to learn something?
Yeah, they didn't grow and like learn. They were just as stupid as they were. So they're going to keep doing stupid things. And also, how you said it was because of the director, they have to keep suspense for an hour and a half, 2 hour movie. Mm-hmm. So the people have to do stupid things to make noise, to make you scared. Otherwise, what's going to happen the entire movie?
It's an apocalypse where a bunch of things are killing you with sound. So, don't turn off your cell phone at all. No, just keep that ping, 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 ping going. It's all good. Go ahead.
It was
I'm like, get me out of here. This chick deserves to die. Slowly. Let's do it.
It was very frustrating watching the kids do certain things. Mm-hmm. But in the end, if it wasn't for the kids, they would have no hope. Yeah. It was because the kids being reckless, especially the daughter, because the daughter who's deaf is the one who figured with the sound of her thing was the one who, figured out how to distract these things to kill him.
Real convenient.
The daughter
real convenient that the deaf one is the one that figured it out.
The daughter was the one who believed and found the radio signal. You understand? And even when, like how it ended, she's the one who they can go back and get her mother and then live on that island happily ever after because things, spoiler, they can't swim.
I got smoked.
In her recklessness, she. It was needed.
So if they can't swim, how'd they get on the island? Oh, yeah. One of them stowed away on the boat, right?
Melee and the fire or whatever, the boat, it just like floated over there on its own with the currents.
It's real convenient.
Real convenient, right? Just to clear up the way for them, right?
Basically, like Jaimin Hunsu, like when he died, I laughed. That shit was funny to me. It reminded me of like, Samuel Jackson in
that's a classic
Deep
death.
Blue Sea.
Yeah, that's a classic death. Yeah. Although Deep Blue Sea was better. What we need to do.
I started dying laughing.
I love that
was
movie.
A missed opportunity in Snakes on a Plane when he said, "I'm tired of these mother effing snakes on this mother effing plane." There should have been like an anaconda that kind of just snatched him up, and then the credits roll. It would have been perfect, Oscar worthy. But anyway, continue, LeVar.
Also, it's the whole thing of like messing around, like in apocalypse movies, women and kids will get you fucking killed. It's like just like in this movie with Will Smith, I Am Legend. As soon as he let this chick in, what happened? Killed. It's just they're like how the dude let this woman and her 3 children guilt him into going out there. But still,
without that woman, without the guilt, he would have not found that peace. Now they have an island. Now he's alive.
But he's all effed up. He's all stabbed in the leg. Who the F is gonna sew him up? The little girl? Like that? How he ain't gonna get gangrene? Who knows if he survives the next movie?
True.
Like he's like mortally wounded.
I love having thought experiments I love having thought experiments and playing this out to the nth degree on movies like this, because the scene cuts and you're just like, okay, how's she gonna get back home to mom's? Like, how are they gonna walk around with a broken radio camera, radio like squeaking noise everywhere just to make sure that radio tower doesn't last that
whole
long.
Radio signal, she can broadcast it throughout the whole everything.
So they can just walk around with radios everywhere.
Get on the boat and go back to her mom's, and then
so they get off the boat, right? And then they go to Radio Shack and they pick up a bunch of radios, cover themselves with radios, and just walk around.
I'm sure on that place there are
what's up? I'm just going there with it. Come on.
On that place that they were at, there's a bunch of radios there, so it's not like it's a shortage of radios. So she has a
radio,
there's a whole bunch of supplies.
So I would expect that the next movie there'll be like a scene, there'll be like a montage scene where they're all like strapping up radios everywhere to go and save mom. I'm just saying.
I mean, I'm sure there's supplies, because it's not like that place didn't have supplies set up there. So there's radios everywhere. The whole way they've been surviving is by having a speaker and like a radio with them. So it wouldn't be hard.
But your point still stands. Homie got gangrene on a leg. There's no way he's walking. Then you got a deaf one.
Oh, we got Kay. You got some crazy going on with the. Maybe it's Maybe it's LeVar. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Hold on. Let's see. No, LeVar, that might be you.
What happened?
We're getting some feedback. Yeah. See, you're killing sound aliens right now. All right, can I jump in, or did you have some more points you wanted to make?
Go for it.
Okay, so several things. I'm always a stickler for verisimilitude, which means you set this world up, and now these are the rules of your world, and now everything needs to be believable based on those rules you set up, right?
Indeed.
So, shout out to Pixelbit G.
Pixelbit, that's right.
Perfect example of a movie that could have left one and done. It could have been, but let me just point out some of the things that bothered me, other than these dumbass kids. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but the 2 people in this movie that just happened to die for absolutely no reason to save these white people were the 2 black people, which is Djimon Hounsou and the cop at the beginning.
Of course.
I'm not saying
black people gotta die in the damn movie, bro.
But why you gotta sacrifice yourself anyway? For no reason, too. You know the thing is out there
to save the white people. That's how these movie things go.
Okay. So now you also want to tell me that of all the radios all around the world, nobody ever put a microphone to a speaker. It just happens to be this one. Go ahead. What you gonna say?
It's actually not a microphone. It's her earpiece. How many deaf people survived? I mean, and it doesn't matter. It's not to say that a bunch of other people could do it. We're not following those people. We're following our people. The camera's just not following the other people who figured it out.
But nobody in no one in any government around the world noticed that if you get microphone or speaker feedback, that it'll stop these things in their tracks. Nobody,
like at all. No, it's clearly a sound. It's sound is their Achilles heel, right? And the sound is everywhere. You're telling me nowhere around the government at all, and governments around the world, nobody caught on to the fact that feedback was the Achilles heel.
Like no radio station, nowhere.
They figured out
That's
that
a little
water that they couldn't swim. I mean, it's all depends on
And
how like,
these aliens who are smart enough to travel to another star system, who also happen to behave like they're animals and don't wear clothes and apparently don't have language.
I would love to see their ship and how they fly.
Planet where sound kills them, and the planet is 70% water.
They're basically
and you can't swim.
From Stranger Things.
Yeah, they're basically Demogorgons, yes. But they somehow can fly, and they have the ability to take flight and pilot ships, even though they barely wear no clothes and they're very animalistic.
You can jump through warp space, but sound
has it been
you.
verified that they are not like the Crod, as has been said, the Crod control system? Maybe they're there to just wash the planet of humans, and that their masters sent them, similar to what we have discussed.
Oh, so you're saying that tomorrow.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but even then,
that
is dumb pest control because the planet is mostly water. How they going?
Yeah, they picked the wrong thing. It should have been something that was immune to water, which is a little.
And
absurd.
Again, if you're smart enough to travel here, you should know this. The planet is mostly water. So there's that. Now, the dumbass kid. And I mostly see the daughter is just, she was an asshole from the first one, so I expected this. And now she's beating herself up, and everybody got to suffer for it because she got her father killed, and he had to go kill himself. Right? So cool, but let's talk about the dumbass son. Right? You know that these things react off of sound. You run in and then you get hit with a bear trap.
Yeah, you run in the field
screaming.
You running barefoot in the field. Like, what is wrong with you people?
Bite on your arm or something, screaming to the ground.
Because I'm hurt, so screw my family. They can all die for what
everything because I'm in pain, right? And then of course he's the one to go say, I need to go look around for I don't know what reason, right? All of these things are hanging behind you, and then you see a dead body there, and you got to be like, you start tap dancing and making all the noise in the world. Meanwhile, you left the baby in the shit,
in the box,
using the last of the oxygen when know your mom left because there was no oxygen left. You knew that. And then you go and lock yourself in the thing so you don't got, you know what? Don't get me started.
I was more mad at the son.
I love watching them get pissed off. This is great.
More mad because at least the daughter, if she wanted to be stupid, she left on her own. She was just there like, fuck it. If I die, I'm going to die trying to save my family.
But you don't think their family's going to come looking for you?
She didn't tell them to come do it. She didn't think so because she's like, her mom got the baby. She was just there like, I'm determined to do this because I know, I believe. And her belief is what's going to save them all in the end in the third one.
Your whole life,
how they going to get to the third one? The third one, they could be dead. You don't know.
And then, I don't even know how she killed that.
I feel like it was set up for a third one.
With a round pole, right? Like, how did she hit this thing in
the temple, in the right perfect spot? Boom.
What up, cuz? Carolyn Best, what's happening?
Big Carolyn.
All right. Pixelbit G says, I didn't see it, but now
I need to see the foolishness.
Yes, you do. You do
need to see the foolishness for sure.
Listen, I would have left them kids, and the movie would have been a lot better if it was just man. Now, lastly, this dude, what's his name? Cillian Murphy. There is no way on God's green earth I'm gonna let this chick come and look at me and tell me I gotta leave because her daughter's a dumbass. I've been here this whole time.
But please,
you're on mute, LeVar. You on mute?
You're still on mute. Unmute. You're on mute.
Like, is she giving him some nookie or something? It's like,
I mean, she did put her ring. She did drop her ring off by the husband's grave.
I mean, you did see what Nookie did, right? Like, there's a child here you have to protect against the crazy Dermagorgons or whatever the hell. So
alluded to, but they didn't never really say it. Did the guy that they went to go stay with, because when the son was out exploring the space, like he found the dead woman, was that the dude who they were staying with wife, and he just saved the body?
Maybe, and that's something that I would want to explore, but then the movie ends. The movie ends when you try to figure out who that dude is what really he's up to.
Sicko.
He might be. Mm-hmm. That to me was the interesting part. I feel like that should have been the focus more of.
I felt like movie. It was going to take a dark turn, and they were going to reveal that later. But
it was randomly over. And you know what? New type gunplay. I'm probably butchering your name, but you're absolutely right.
Gunplay, I think.
Sure.
That first 15 minutes was great when they showed when they first landed. Yes, I mean he's directing it, so of course he made himself look good, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I just found the movie's good. I think John Krasinski's just like he's. I think the script needed work, but as an exercise in as an exercise in filmmaking and tension building and all those things, and I love it because you don't get too much sci-fi horror these days, because this is sci-fi horror. It's aliens and it's horror. Yeah. It's not an action movie. Yeah. I think he did an amazing job, and I would love to see him maybe direct an MCU movie one day. Who knows? But I think he's he's a great. I think he's an amazing filmmaker. Oh, Tempest, what's good? Tempest's son.
There he is.
The gunplay is for Gundam. He makes the models.
Indeed. Yes.
It all makes sense.
Makes sense.
Okay, so I want to move on to the next thing.
Hold on.
Before you
go, final thought. If you care about the space, the sci-fi horror, Cillian Murphy, Sunshine, watch it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Good sci-fi movie. He's in that one. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh, this man could do no wrong.
That's an all-star cast in that too.
Amazing film. Yes. Now, do you want to speak to what is it, the gunpowder whatever minute, or do you want to?
Yes, I forgot about that one. Yeah, that was all you.
What did you think of it? I want to hear what you have to say, because
smelly,
garbage,
disgusting garbage. My God,
did you see this, Lamar?
You try to make yourself into a fake John
Not
Wick.
At all. Didn't see it.
It is the most hilarious.
You know what's crazy?
Look.
Before we go Giamatti is one of my favorite actors.
It's bad enough to be good. Oh, come on, really? Paul Giamatti?
I love Paul Giamatti.
He is worse than Sam Jackson when it comes to phoning in paycheck movies. That guy he is notorious for his same portrayal. In every movie, he just collected that check.
Paul Giamatti was the best thing about that movie.
Oh, come on. Okay, acting maybe.
Yes, as an actor, he's one of my favorite.
But that's not what this movie's about. It's not about the acting. It's about dumb, foolish set pieces. It's about John Wick light. It's about Kill Bill light. It's about, dumbing down the genre.
Not light. It is a poor man's,
of course,
or poor woman's John Wick. And
indeed.
And that we have to put everything on the nose to say men are terrible. And
stop with that's not what this is for, bro.
That's what the movie was. That's what it was. That's exactly what the movie was trying to say. There was no reason for it to be that way. All the men were incompetent. All the men were in control of things. Just look at the trailer. This is what they say. Now, again,
no strong male characters like this new female thing. Oh,
we're not talking about that right now. The point is, I get it. I get the premise of the movie. Men are bad, but as a vehicle, I just thought the writing was some of the worst. The characterization.
It was bad enough to be good. Watch this movie. In my opinion, watch this movie and critique the shit out of it. It is so hilariously bad, especially if you've seen John Wick, if you've seen Kill Bill. This movie is the worst. It's terrible.
Look at the cast. You have Angela Bassett.
Come on now.
Paul Giamatti, Karen Gillan. I can't remember the name.
Michelle Yeoh.
Yes. right?
Michelle Yeoh alone is why I watch it. I'm like, you gonna get some badass scenes with her, and you do.
I don't
get
think
badass scenes with. Yes, you do.
I think this. I didn't buy, and you got Lena Headey. I think you had this great cast, which is why I watched it. And how could a movie with all of these amazing actresses be this boring?
She was totally miscast. Like the lead was terribly miscast. Terribly.
I didn't buy anyone's motivations. I didn't buy the roles. I didn't buy they try to make this diner a fake ass Continental.
Have you noticed they did the world building of John Wick? Like there's the library and the diner.
Terrible.
I was like, y'all are wearing it so on your sleeve. They did it so badly. I couldn't help but continue watching.
You know who did it properly? Nobody.
Yes, nobody
that was
did
a proper John Wick ripoff.
Yes, very true. But look, if this is the time of HBO back in the day when you just had something on and you would flick and there's a terrible movie you would watch, this is square in that circle. It's not terrible enough to where you just go screw this and turn your TV off. It is terrible in all the best ways, in my opinion. The acting is terrible. The casting is terrible. The writing is terrible.
This would have been terrible in the 80s. That's how bad it is.
But this is hilarious though. But I will say there are some inventive action scenes. Some of them are. Even though in other ones,
is that like a B movie?
Like, no, it is a square B movie. Yes. This is a B movie.
This is a C movie. Listen, name one inventive action scene.
The library fight was pretty good. I like that. Oh, stop it. So was the diner fight at the end. There was some really interesting stuff going on in there. The fight where she lost use of her arms, so everything was without. That was also hilarious.
Stupid.
Of
you
course,
can't use your hands, but you can pull the trigger, and then the laughing of the goons that she had to beat up. It was all just dumb.
The whole thing is supposed to be dumb. Like they didn't take themselves seriously. Okay. It's a terrible movie, but you should watch it, I think.
Listen, and then last thing,
it's terrible.
I don't know. I don't know that you agree that it's terrible enough.
I think it's horrible. It's a bad movie.
So that's all we have for what we're watching. I want to move on. We're watching the Fear Street trilogy, but I watched that. I got through it. The second one is the only good one. But we can talk about that one next week because we are 38 minutes in. I want to talk about Dune. Right. And I have concerns about Dune because I am beginning to wonder if Dune is an unfilmable story.
It always was. I'm surprised they tried.
Right. And
did you see the first one, Steve?
David Lynch's Dune. I saw it many years ago.
Yeah,
so you vaguely remember it, right?
Vaguely remember it, but I read the book, the first book.
You remember it was like Star Wars in the sand.
Mm-hmm. No. Star Wars is like this in the sand. The book came out in the 60s, and George Lucas read that along with the hero's journey from can't think of his name.
Yeah, Star Wars is better. They had lightsabers, bro.
So, oh boy. Oh,
don't start that, man. Don't start that, please.
Don't start that. We are not going to do that today, sir.
Not today, man.
They had explosions and glitter, Steve. They had James Earl Jones doing the voice of Darth Vader.
You don't know nothing about the spice mines and the Bene Gesserit and the steel
Sam Jackson as a Jedi with a purple lightsaber, Steve.
But let's be real though. I think your question is very apt.
Now, but I want to let me get to the question, right? Blade Runner 2049 was brilliant, right?
It is one of my favorite movies the year it came out, and it made nothing.
Right? And it lost the studio money.
Such a great,
terrible. But hold on. Let me just get through the premise, and then I'm gonna let everybody jump in. Give me 3 minutes here.
Put yourself in a single, Steve. Give yourself a single.
I'm gonna put myself in a single and mute everybody. That's what I'm about to do.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Go ahead.
So, will Dune be able to connect with casual audiences? Now, everything about this movie says it is going to be great. It almost feels like it's designed to win Oscars. The source material is literally the stuff that inspired Star Wars, right? Except this is the thinking man's Star Wars, as they call it, right? The cast itself is amazing. Timothy Chalamet, a rising star, right? You got Zendaya, you have Jason Momoa, you have Josh Brolin, you have Batista. So amazing cast, and the problem is the source material is very Oscar Isaac, yes, as Duke Leto, right? My fear is that this film is going to be a lot of build up for and not a lot of payoff. And I think it is going to be well made. I think it is going to I think I am going to love it, but I do not know if audiences who want to go to the theater and have a popcorn film, I don't know if it plays to the cheap seats, so to speak. I don't know if it plays to the casual audience. And Denis Villeneuve, time and time again, has proven that he doesn't care about that. And somehow studios, or not studios, Warner Brothers continues to give him $200 million to make these big blockbuster budgets, but he doesn't make blockbuster movies.
That's
right?
why you need to get in.
So the thing is,
you watching this Hollywood? Give my brother a check.
So the thing is, Denis Villeneuve, though, thinks that he swears up and down, if this movie doesn't do well, that it's not going to be the fault of the source material or him not. It's not going to be the fault of the source material or him not making movies that play to the cheap seats, that he doesn't make 4-quadrant movies, right? He says it is solely because of HBO Max. And this day and date release strategy is going to cause the film to lose box office that it would have made. And I think that is horseshit, because the thing is this. It is not, first of all, you're talking all this shit about WB, who's giving you money and you've never delivered a return on their investment, not once, right? Based on your budget, not much, right? So not once. Now, this movie is also not the kind of movie that's going to make that money, and then they're giving it to you anyway. But my ultimate problem is audiences should not be forced to go to the theater, right? It is not the studio's job to force you to go to the theater if they have other avenue, right? Because what Warner Brothers is saying, we have another avenue for you to watch this. If you want to stay home, right? Theaters and the Hollywood press is trying to force people to go to the theater, and I think that's wrongheaded, but that's going to be a Black Widow topic for later. So, do you think, having read the books, and LeVar, you having seen Blade Runner 2049, do you think Dune, with director Denis Villeneuve, despite the cast, despite the big budget, is going to be a worthwhile endeavor financially for Warner Brothers?
My answer is going to be quick, and I'm going to let Kay go after that. From what I saw in the trailer, I feel like it's going to look great, and it's going to be an artsy-fartsy piece of trash like Blade Runner 2049 or 99 or whatever that shit was called.
2049.
It's going to flop. The audience that they're looking for, I don't think it's out there. And I think the best part of the trailer, they owe Michael J. White a check for stealing his shit from Black Dynamite. I Am Smiling. That was the best part of the trailer right there. Cut Michael J. White.
Yeah, when Gurney Halleck says, "I am smiling."
That was the only good part of the trailer to me, or the part that stood out the most to me. I don't feel like it's gonna make money. It doesn't. I'm not saying it won't be entertaining to some people. Like, you're the fan base they're looking for, but I don't believe there's enough people like you for it to make the money
I think
the director expects it to make.
Only making this movie for the people that read the book, to be honest. right? The trailer only excites me because I read the book. The trailer didn't look exciting if I didn't know who was who and what was what. And I don't think the trailer told me anything what the movie was about.
No.
If you didn't read the book, what does that look like it's about?
All these comic book movies, they're all in a movie, so it's going to make money. If you liked Aquaman, you liked Avengers, you liked Spider-Man, all of them are in our movie. But I don't think, I think they're counting their chickens before they hatch.
I think Tempest makes an excellent point. They need to cut down on the spending on some of these movies because these budgets are overblown to begin with. There's no reason any movie really should cost $200 million, but they inflate all these prices.
Internet from their home computer? No.
I mean, I'm not going to go that far. But
team, if you give like 5 to 10 people who will really know what they're doing, the things that they can do, not just one person, but say like 10 people, like it's amazing what people can do nowadays from their home.
Yeah, I think the technology needs to come a little bit further, but I've seen some things, and we're on that.
Movies don't have to be. You don't have to spend that much money because everything is on green screen. It's all about how you light it to make it look more realistic, and it's all about storytelling. Things don't have to cost as much as they say they cost.
Indeed, I completely agree. I think we may have lost our host for a moment. And here he is. He is back. You all right? We lost you for a second.
Yeah. No, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Ken.
So yeah, my opinion to answer your question. First off, maybe I approach this from a different perspective. I loved Villeneuve's last outing. I think the movie was almost perfect. It was a great film. I know that it did not capture audiences. I could give a crap about audiences. I care about me, and I loved that movie. Visually, the script was great. It was a good film. Sure, audiences have changed. Blade Runner today won't hit like Blade Runner hit when it first came out. People love Star Wars because they just have that affinity for Star Wars. If you were to release that Star Wars, that OG Star Wars in today's market without anybody knowing it, do you think it would still be that phenomenon it is today? I don't think folks would be that enamored with it as they are today because it has that history. It doesn't stand on its own.
Because it wasn't good to begin with?
Exactly my point.
We're not ready to have that conversation, though.
That's a whole different situation. But needless to say, I thought the new Blade Runner was monumental. Every frame was a picture. Like you could put it was a work of art. Both the art, the visuals, and the storytelling and the writing. I thought it was really good. And yes, it's not made to connect to the Marvel crowd. And I'm also the Marvel crowd. I just happen to like that and like this. To Dune, the only reason why I want to see this movie is to see what concessions were made, because concessions have to have been made. For those who don't remember, who have not read Dune, the idea of a Dune book or the series becoming a movie is like when people first thought of Ready Player One becoming a movie, right? Impossible. And then you saw it, and then you went, "Oh, did you read the book?"
I didn't read the book, but I love the movie.
Okay. Yeah, okay. The reason why you love the movie is because you didn't read the book. That movie is a horrible dumb down of only the properties that they could get. The movie,
I'm glad I didn't read the book.
Is just so much better. So impossible to film.
You know what though? You know what?
Da Vinci Code. I read that book, and the book shits all over the movie.
But here's the thing. The difference with Ready Player One is you had the best director maybe in the history of Hollywood.
You had the perfect director for
what audiences would want, right? Mm-hmm. And this is the difference because Denis Villeneuve is not Christopher Nolan, right?
He's not there for that. He's not there for that. But that's the problem with you. I agree with you, but see, I think that the question you asked, not this question specifically about how will it connect to casual audiences, I honestly think he's not looking for casual audiences. He's looking for that the heady audience.
$200 million movie and not
you know whose problem that is? Do you know whose problem that is? That is WB's problem. Okay, that's not Villeneuve's problem, and that's not your or my problem. Because we will enjoy the hell out of this movie. And I hear you, you're right. But in this world, I still think it's good that they take a chance on a non-Marvel movie and throw millions of dollars at it. Will it work? Hey, maybe it will, maybe it won't. Like and speaking to that, Tempest, I wanted the books version of Ready Player One. Had they been able to translate that to film, really, oh my God, it would have been like monumental. Anyway, this movie, the only reason why I want to see it is because I want to see the concessions. Because if they really made it the way the book is, holy crap! Like 200 million is not enough. Like,
but they're only covering the first half of the first book.
Exactly. Because that's how much, like, it's like the movie that the Wachowskis made. That was one of those things, like, the Impossible book that they made a movie out of. It was also very bad. Jupiter Ascending.
No, not Jupiter Ascending. It's the other.
No, there was another one.
Oh
man,
it's the one with Halle Berry and Tom Hanks.
And Tom Hanks, exactly. Yes. That's another one of those things. It was an impossible movie to make, and it was actually righteously wasn't worthy of making it. That was a bad.
I don't know. I actually did not hate that movie. Not the way I hated Jupiter Ascending. Like, go back and watch it again. It's not as bad as you remember.
It's not. I think the writing, the way they translated the they had the dialect translations and stuff like that, that became grating over time. They could have done away with that. That's where the lost in translation thing happened for me. You can lose that from the book to the screen. You can and still make the point across. And it kept it up. Eventually, after 2 hours of Tom Hanks saying that, it was just stop it, right?
Oh, Eagles fan 76. What's happening?
The film itself was pretty decent, but I can understand why it didn't connect with audiences. This film here, I'm looking forward to it a lot. I really am. But I honestly think that your framing of the, since he's making a big budget $200 million movie, it has to be that 4 quadrant. I hope that's not the world we're moving to, because then that means every $200 million movie will be a Marvel movie, and that should not be the world we live in.
Not necessarily, and I'm going to tell you why.
You should allow these guys to make ridiculous works of art that will only speak to a few of us, but still let WB throw the money at them. I think this is still a good thing.
Again, the thing is this: Denis Villeneuve thinks he is Christopher Nolan, but he is not. Now, what Christopher Nolan and I have issues with Christopher Nolan, right? Mm-hmm. But what he is able to do is take complex ideas, make adult movies, and still have them play to larger audiences. Because
really, what did he? What? How good are you lately? What was the last one again? I remember you have some critique, do you not, sir?
Yeah, he's smelling his own.
He's using him to make the argument. But if you ask him the last movie, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's an exception."
No. But I think Christopher Nolan is smelling his own farts a little too much. But the point is, he's still
as good as your last hit, Steve.
Exactly. He still puts the butts in the seats, and Denis Villeneuve.
Why do the butts being in the seats matter so much to you? As long as you are a person who likes
about it. Never heard.
As long as you specifically like the movie he's making, who gives a crap about the butts in the seats?
Denis Villeneuve cares about the butts in the seats. He is saying that WB has sabotaged this movie from making a sequel.
He's trying to hedge his bets. I get that. Come on, it's a business, baby.
It's
a business. Look. You and I both know this movie is too heady for the common man, and if he dumbs it down too much, it will alienate the audiences who oh, come on. If you like the book itself, reading the book itself is an undertaking. It's very complicated. It requires so much to get through that damn book.
What this would be better suited as? An HBO television show.
It should have been a TV show.
Right?
It should have been
I watch it as a show.
Yes, because then it gives you time to get through it. Time to really analyze the small and introduce people to this complex world. But you're going to try and dumb all that down in 2.5 hours at most. I think first off, either you'll dumb it down too much or you won't dumb it down enough. And either way, you'll alienate a bunch of folks. So my interest in this is to see where the cuts lie, to see if he succeeds, because I think it's impossible to succeed.
But this is my problem. If you are a fan of Dune and you want to see it get the due that it deserves as being the thing that inspired Star Wars,
I think having in a perfect world, it should be what Star Wars is today.
Yes, but it will not be that because Denis Villeneuve does not care about making it that.
Oh,
right?
but nobody
And
goes
he's
into it
blaming.
needing to think that.
They don't have lightsabers, bro.
No, it don't need lightsabers. What I'm saying is,
Nope.
if you can do this, thing could be as big as Game of Thrones, which has made HBO maybe more than Lord of the Rings, WB more than Lord of the Rings, right? So it could be that in the right hands and the right format. So if you're going to do that literal adaptation, that very slow moving, slow burn, build up to big things happening, how can you do that in 2.5, 3 hours? I don't know that you can, right? But if you build that out, like if you're building this out over the whole season, they don't even get to Dune until the end of season 1 when you really think about it. But that's not true. So we're gonna have to rush through this thing, and he is notoriously slow moving. And
listen. Again, my point.
I don't think it's
even
gonna work
after all, and that may
and
very
I
well
want
be
it
true.
to work. And so
and
it
the
has
subject
to be
matter is dangerous
to larger audiences if we are to get a sequel that I want.
I get that, but you look. These are the Kojimas of the art world. You have to allow them to go Kojima a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
But what if that means you'll never get a sequel to this franchise that you would like to see?
How many times have they done that for him? Didn't he even do the other one with the and it was done for Amazon. He did it with the let me check his filmography real quick.
He did Sicario. He did
because there was a recent film that also came out that was very, very visually arresting, but again, it was absolutely terrible in the writing and the directing part, even though visually was amazing. And I think that was Villeneuve as well.
Sicario, Prisoners, Arrival, Blade Runner 2049, and now this. Those are the films that I've seen of his. I don't know of anything else that he's done.
Okay.
So needless to say, someone look that up and tell us.
Yeah, but needless to say, like I actually think he's a man that takes big swings. You know, I don't think I would have seen. Pause. Indeed, I don't think I would see somebody like who you were just talking about make a movie like this, because he wouldn't take the subject matter. It's too complicated for him. He needs a streamlined process. Or if it's complicated, God damn it, we just talked about him, man.
Not Christopher Nolan. Don't say that.
Nolan would not make this movie. Nolan would not make this movie because his complex ideas are usually self-crafted. He does not because look at Batman. Batman was a simple concept that he blew out, which is great. And all the other complex ones that he had are ones of his own creation. He's not good at taking this and actually translating it to the screen like that. It's usually his own creation that he does that with. And Batman is not one to be used either because Batman is a very simple premise. Very simple premise. You know, he does not have the pedigree to say that, you know, he did it. And even the ones that he did do himself, he's one for one. What do you call it? The first one he did with no, not Interstellar. Interstellar was okay. I think Interstellar was okay, but after Interstellar,
I liked Interstellar. I know after Interstellar, the war movie. Dunkirk.
Many issues there. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not like impervious to critique is my point.
No, so I'm just saying that he has the ability to here comes slow-mo. Dune is greater.
And honestly, I think that's where we all agree right now, Slow.
Yes,
we all agree that it's better. But he's afraid that Villeneuve is not going to translate it well for the people.
I don't. Is it greater if it can't be translated? Some people could argue that Star Wars took out the stuff that people wouldn't like, and that's why it's popular. So maybe Star Wars is Dune distilled down to something that is palatable, sir.
Maybe, and that is something that can be discussed. I will not necessarily.
And I'm not even a Star Wars
definitely
fan.
More relevant in pop culture than Dune will ever be.
Whoa.
Well, but that's because look again. You cannot take something that like grandparents still remember fondly going to the movie theaters to go see. Like this, Star Wars has taken on something completely beyond, you know, to the point where IP for IP, you can't compare them. You know, even like John of Mars, whatever his name is, that where Superman came from. that was a way better story. But because Superman is so well established, there's just no way John of Mars will ever get it.
And the John Carter Mars movie was trash, which is
sure, but the story was better.
Okay, I'm not even going to
say the original story was better, but they just they translated it in a trash fashion. So from now on, it'll always be, John Carter of Mars was trash, even though the source material basically one informed the other, but backwards. Most of us don't know that. You can't compare Star Wars to anything at this point.
He copied my whole fucking flow, yo. Stole the whole shit.
Indeed. Okay. But no, I honestly think we should continue letting Villeneuve do his thing, even though it means that sometimes
so much money. And
and WB will learn that lesson.
But if I'm anybody in Hollywood, I'm not giving him no more big budget movies, because after they gave you all of this money, even though you didn't return nothing on their investment, not once, they keep giving you money, and then you're gonna go bite the hand that feeds you. I will say I wouldn't let him make another movie.
While quickly researching this, while quickly looking up his filmography, I will say he is taking some of our critique to heart. Even though the movie's coming out and it's complete, there's no date to it. There is like an announced Dune: The Sisterhood TV show, and he is directing the first episode. So possibly
Benny Jesuit, yes.
Possibly
we'll see.
Because
when it flops, this is another thing that I believe. As a director, you're the captain of the ship, and you're supposed to go down with the ship. But the finger pointing has already started.
I hear you. When the finger pointing
is coming.
When the finger pointing starts, I hear you. Yes, I hear you. Although my only critique that kind of counteracts that narrative a little bit is, I will say to this day, to me, Blade Runner 2049 was a almost perfect film. Just because it didn't connect with audiences doesn't make it trash that needs to be thrown away. It's still great. You cannot watch that movie and go, "Oh yeah, I can see why people didn't like this." It was very well written. It was beautiful. Yes.
Was it? I agree with you. It's my favorite movie of 2017.
So why the hell is just because morons didn't see it or didn't connect with it, now all of a sudden that movie's trash?
My question is, did we love it because of Denis Villeneuve, or did we love it because of Roger Deakins, the cinematographer?
Bro, like you said,
I'm just saying,
like you just said minutes ago, the director controls the ship and he goes down with the ship. So if something succeeds or something is great, he should also get some of them damn roses. Whether or not the plebes went and bought it with their popcorn or not is not the point. If it was a bad film, it's a bad film. It's not a bad film. Whether anybody saw it or not is not the point. It was a great film. So to that, I have a little bit of pushback on, because all these people out there, I heard Grace Randolph saying all that. The film was good. Whether anybody saw it or not is not the point. So you cannot give him that bad judgment. What? So he has to dumb it down and find a way that all the sheeple will then appreciate? Come on now. That's not the world we live in. Not every art is for everyone.
That literally is the world we live in. And if you want to see a sequel, which apparently you don't, you just want to get what you want.
Come on, that's not even true.
This is where we at.
And you're Mr. Let the market speak. This man wants to make this vision. Okay. And even through the entire process, while there are so many roadblocks to that $200 million, he got the $200 million and he was allowed to make the vision come through. And it's not the first time they bet on him. They've bet on him multiple times. So let the man make his vision.
And what did they get for it? But anyway,
enough to give him $200 million more.
Oh,
the first 3 Dune books. Yes, exactly. Exactly. You see what I'm saying? Let the man. If you will let George Lucas go out on a limb and take this and translate, let Denis Villeneuve, who actually has a better track record of visually showing you something, to give it a shot.
That's
Roger
Deakins, who he keeps working with. But yes.
And he is the captain of the ship. So he makes those decisions. Just like you said, if it's shit and he goes down, he should go down with it. So whether it be monetary accolades or critical accolades, if the film is good, he needs to be respected for it. And 2049 was a good film. I don't care what Grace Randolph says. I appreciate her.
Great movie. She didn't say it was bad.
No, she basically said because the butts didn't hit in seats, all of a sudden it makes him not a worthy director to be even given any movies anymore, and that's BS. The film was good by all accounts. All accounts, it was a good
saying,
movie.
And I agree with her. You're lucky they gave you this after the box office. You turned around the last time. They trusted you, and you bite the hand that feeds you.
The only place where I agree with her and you is he should shut his mouth. The minute he starts coming out the mouth, then people have the right to start telling him to shut his mouth.
The only person who could say something, and I even have a problem that's well documented with, it was Christopher Nolan, because Christopher Nolan made them money, so they should do what he says and try to keep him happy.
So in other words, in the middle of a pandemic, when he insists that everybody got to go to movie theaters and need to shut up about that, that was some BS what he did right there.
It was. I'm just saying, as a matter of
no one's impervious to criticism.
Christopher Nolan has a better leg to stand on, and Denis Villeneuve is making comments like he's Christopher Nolan, and he is not. But anyway,
I understand. Sure.
Go ahead, and then we're gonna move on to the next thing.
Yep.
I feel like with him doing all that talking, it left a bad taste in people's mouths. And
true statement.
It better be the greatest film ever for him to be talking all of this shit.
Indeed. Yep.
You should have just let the movie come out and let it do what it do. You know? Now there's pressure on him.
But he's not going to take that blame. He's going to blame it on HBO Max.
Yeah, but then he's going to look like a whiny little, B word to me. So I feel like
that HBO Max point that you were talking about there, Everborn, I think we should have just a moment of discussion about that. By the way, I hear you on that, and you're absolutely right on that. But isn't there a world in which, like, he's not the one pushing people to go to the theaters? Like you said, it's the media and the theater
because it benefits them.
Exactly. In the structure we live right now, that's the only way that they succeed. So why not have that idea of, look, we are in a world, we're very much on the cusp of where arcades went, whether you like it or not. That idea is already out there. You guys have already allowed half a year of people staying home and watching movies. Maybe it's now time to start working on and thinking about life after only movie theater releases, because you've already let it out of the bag. And instead of forcing these guys to only fight to get you in those seats over there, why not, start incentivizing them to be okay with the stuff being on a streaming service? Because I don't fault Villeneuve for that, because that's the only way he succeeds.
So I wanna address
that's where everything is moving anyway, because there could be some other global pandemic after that. So what do you do? Stop putting out movies?
So I bet if Villeneuve got whole also off of HBO Max, he'd be cool. It's the fact that still the only game in town is movie theaters. That's why he's like, come on, man, y'all gonna screw me, even though we know it's hedging.
COVID is up way high. There's that Delta variant out here.
I want to
shut down movie theaters again.
I want to address something. This is just for the people that read the book. So Slow-Mo thinks that there's a big chance that part one of this movie ends with the Harkonnen forces invading. Non-fans will be bored until then. I don't know that is the case, only because from the trailer, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, we saw Zendaya with Timothée Chalamet or
they do
Paul Atreides. Didn't they not meet until after the Harkonnen invasion?
I think
right?
They met
and they
after
didn't really get to be with each other until Paul beat her husband to be or something like that, because he had to take her. So that tells me that it may go a little bit further past.
Or he's not following the translation directly, and he's probably playing a little fast and loose with timelines. We don't know that.
Okay.
Because there's always some changes there.
Now, Slow-Mo, tell me what you think about that, because I think you're a little bit more versed on the book. I read it a long time ago, so I could be mixing up my order with things. Also,
I think you're right, but continue.
So the director's only upset because he's probably getting a percentage cut of the box office. Yes, exactly.
You see, this is my point. So don't sit there, and I get it. He's coming out the mouth, and because of that, he deserves some harsh judgment. I'm not arguing that. But the world that is set up for him to lose if HBO Max is part of the equation. So switch up the game, and he'll be cool because now his pocket's not being hurt by it. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. You can't hate on him for it.
Very high hopes for this movie because Like I always bring it back to the action figures. The action figures been out for months, sitting on the shelves at Target that I seen out there for a movie that wasn't even out. You know, so for them to go that far, to be selling all of this merchandise for it, he expected it to do big numbers.
Okay.
Well, WB expected it to do big numbers, not necessarily him. Like he convinced them of it, but like this whole thing has been an experiment from jump. Even without the pandemic being a factor in the equation, I suspect that somewhere down the line, WB is angry at the fact that they have this killer IP that potentially could be Star Wars worthy that has been sitting around for so long collecting dust, and they have to make it Star Wars worthy. But like you guys are saying, in all things WB seems to be doing these days, they're jumping the gun rather than, make separate movies, make a TV show, prime the pump before you do your Justice League style situation. Nah, let's just fit it in immediately. This is the same way. They should have done the TV show first, prime the pump, get people ready for it, get people excited for it. Who is this for? I don't even think there's a market for action figures necessarily, because those who would buy these action figures may not necessarily even know the subject matter.
No. I think you're not thinking of the broader action figure market, which would be LeVar, who would know.
No, but he should be excited for it. But that's exactly the point.
Look at them.
He's the target audience, and he doesn't care. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like they should have primed the pump for someone like him who would be interested in it. I think.
Now, every time I went there, everything else that was on that shelf was sold out. The Dune stuff,
except for that. That's
shelf.
right. Because it's almost like they expect you to know who these are, and they don't.
IP that only a few people care about. Exactly. People don't read, right? And it's an IP from books. It's
an IP that's been left behind in books,
and nobody cares about David Lynch's Dune. So that
was a bad look for David Lynch's for Dune, actually.
But I want to move on to a topic that is semi-related to this. This is box office versus day and date releases. Now, Disney last week tried to get ahead of the press, and they were very quick to point out the numbers that Black Widow was a smashing success for their opening weekend. They did 80 million in the box office in North America. They did 60 million in Premiere Access. That's where you pay $30 to unlock the movie day and date the same time it comes out in theater. And
you got a picture for that, Steve?
I do. Give me a second. But worldwide it made 240 some odd million, making back its entire production budget opening weekend. Now, the thing with movies is you always look for you always look for a drop off that is less than 60% in your week 2 for these large opening weekend films. So this film dropped off 67% in its second weekend.
Didn't Space Jam eat its lunch, which was surprising to everyone?
Yes, Space Jam beat it. See, this is what I'm talking about. All the Hollywood trades are now coming out and saying that Disney's plan backfired. Their day and date releases had killed the box office of this thing. And that they were so greedy about their subscription service that now the film isn't doing what it's supposed to do. So
is Shang-Chi coming to day and date as well?
No,
it's not. It's only theaters.
Only theaters.
So this is the last one to do it?
This and Jungle Cruise is the last one.
Okay.
So now, what do you think about this? Has it backfired? Looking at the week-to-week drop-off.
I disagree.
And the reason for that is usually these films make so much money because people see them multiple times. But what's happening is people are seeing these films opening weekend in the theater, and then instead of going back to the theater to watch it again, they are watching it at home because they got the theater experience. And they're what do you mean?
I have another theory. Once you put something out digitally, people can immediately steal it.
Well, but nah. Yeah, I hear you on that, but that's baked into the cake. A lot of people steal this. It's happened forever. It usually doesn't change the numbers this drastically. That's not that.
I think, I'm going to add to your point, LeVar. I'm going to back you up. Let me back you up.
Usually, right? They'll have. You don't get like a clear copy when they put out bootlegs. When you
go okay, that is all true. But honestly, my opinion on the reason why this fell off is different. But continue.
I want to back up LeVar, and then I'll let you continue.
Go ahead.
I think the factor to think about is
have to wait for
China has not approved this film for. They've approved it to be released, but it does not have a release date yet in China. Meanwhile, these clear copies are showing up on the torrent sites everywhere with Chinese subtitles.
Yeah.
So they are losing a ton of box office in China because of that. But that's to your point, LeVar. So please continue. Yep. I'm sorry.
Yep. No, you got it.
Right. So now I want you to tell me why is this the case or is it not? And who wants to take that first?
I think I will, but
okay.
But y'all can continue. But and I don't disagree with any of your points. Yes, 100%. Eagles fan. Thank you for coming. Yeah, and he's absolutely right. It is a contributing factor. Once you open that floodgate, closing it back up becomes very difficult. I agree with that. I agree with the point of
it's like telling people to go back into the office now when they've been working from home for a year.
Exactly.
Yes. It's not. It doesn't work that way.
That's right. It's like telling people to go put their consoles away and go stand in line and go to an arcade. Good luck with that. I hear that, but I don't think that is the direct correlation of this film.
Please,
it's a contributing factor.
It's a contributing factor, no doubt. I completely agree with you. But our assessment of this film last time we watched this, like when we first did our review, I think that was last week or the week before, that still stands today. It's an artifact of its time, and it was great where it fit in. It has long since passed that time. So it's kind of like you're watching the past. Those who really care about this Marvel thing, like you said, it's a contributing factor, but it's a contributing factor because it's not it is new, but it's not the new hotness.
It's you know a different world.
Yes, it's a world that has passed us behind, and especially when you compare it to
COVID to keep going to see this movie.
Especially when you compare it to Loki, which is hitting on all cylinders for Marvel fans at the same damn time. It juxtaposes this film and puts it where it belongs in the past. That's the reason why it's losing all of its audience, because it's like people like me. I watched Black Panther like at least 5-6 times in the movies.
It missed the peak of what it could have made because it was supposed to come out like 2 years ago.
That's exactly the point. So now, because that excitement has already waned from it, that's the reason why audiences could go, I'll watch it at home, or I'll pirate it. Those options have always been available. Yes, it's 1, 2, 3 steps removed from convenient. I get that, but those who are diehard ready to do it will still find ways to do it. It happened for a long time. China is you're absolutely right. For the purposes of documenting the numbers, usually adding Chinese numbers to the mix does usually help. So that not being part of the equation may very well be a factor here. But still, I honestly think that where this film fits into the grand canon and where this film is perceived by Marvel fans has a large part to do with where it sits now. That's why it's more of a Ant-Man result than it should have been the upper echelon of Marvel, because this thing should, like LeVar said, this should have been released a couple mad years ago. So we see it, we go, oh yeah, it's cool, and then you keep it moving because Loki, specifically because of Loki, you're seeing that, this is the new hotness. This is where we want to be, because this is
Loki
teaching us where we're going next.
This big scale, this grander
That's
scale.
Right.
Black Widow is just this little movie about this one character.
And I honestly think that because they released Loki at the same time,
he's not a player on the board.
That's right. Because they released Loki at the same time, and the end of it happened at the same time as this movie releasing, it made it very clear that what you're watching, what you should be interested in, is Loki, rather than focusing all that energy on this hotness, which previously until now, when a Marvel movie comes out, it is it, right? This has been, here's the Marvel movie, but the TV show is more important. I think that's what contributed to all of this.
So let me
Another thing. Let me say one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Beyond that, and the people bootlegging it, once you pay for it on Disney Plus streaming, right? How many people give that password to their friends, and then those people get to watch it? Plus, from you pay the $30 for it, you own it. You long as you pay for Disney Plus, so they don't
technically
they check IPs. You get that $30 every week or every time somebody watches it. So it's like that's contributing to the numbers.
That's not necessarily true with Disney Plus, what you're saying, Kay, because there's multiple profiles, and you can have concurrent streams under different profiles. I think
multiple
you have like
locations.
It's like 6 profiles. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't do that, Disney. I don't share my password with nobody.
Yes.
But so LeVar, unless you were making another point, I want to weigh in.
I'm just saying multiple people are watching it from they pay that $30. It's not like if you were going to the theaters to go and see it again. And I don't think the price.
Isn't it like the price of a drive-in, right?
That people would see several times. It's not like say a Black Panther, how it was like a cultural event, or like even Infinity War or Endgame. That's a movie that you're like, oh my God, I want to see that again. That theater experience.
But you see,
the world is
that's
a very
exactly what you're saying
world right now, and people wouldn't see this movie several times anyway.
You're making my point for me. Right. Endgame, all that was the thing you needed to see to move Disney and the MCU forward. You had to see it to be part of the conversation. The conversation about this has passed us. You're just watching it to catch up.
So
please go ahead.
So a few things. I do want to agree with you guys. This was literally the most inconsequential MCU movie of all 24 now. You did not need to watch this. It would have been perfect if it came out in 2017.
When it came out, yes.
When
the story was.
When it happened canonically, right?
Indeed.
That's the perfect time to release this. I do think in a vacuum, the film's very good, very strong. Yes. I liked it a lot, but like that's one part of it. Mm-hmm. The other thing to consider is, and my why I wanted to talk about this is this.
They should have made it a miniseries on Disney Plus. It shouldn't even be a movie.
But to that point, I think that again,
they could have made Taskmaster better.
Loki.
Oh, here we go.
Here, I see you, slow mo. I got spoke for you in a minute.
Oh, right?
Slow. Loki made you are right. You watch this and then you go and watch Loki and then you say, I don't give a shit.
They
what
cannibalize themselves
in what do you call it? Just because the stakes are different, right? Mm-hmm. Nothing changes in the MCU based on watching.
Because where she ends up before the movie starts. There we go.
After I had planned to watch Black Widow several times, but after watching the Loki season finale, I didn't care anymore. I wanted to watch Loki again. I wanted to watch those theories.
That's where the MCU
all the
going
videos about Black Widow dropped off. Nobody even cares what they did with Taskmaster after watching Loki, right? So they've done that to themselves. But the problem is, this trend that I'm seeing, not just here, but this also connects back to Dune, where you're seeing the Hollywood trades and different actors and directors and coming out, the people that have a vested interest, regardless of what the health risks are, the people that have a vested interest in theaters coming back are the ones who are saying this backfired. So what they don't tell you is how many subscriptions has Disney Plus gained as a result of this release? And those
people is so right.
What?
Hold on. What? Facts.
Oh, they had Black Widow taking damage like a super soldier and jumping from high distances.
She has no superpowers.
She been doing that, and the fighting scenes in this were way better than anything on Disney Plus shows.
Yeah, you can't judge her for that. This is old hat at this point. Yeah, it's old hat for sure. For sure.
Taskmaster was just as bad as Deadpool in the Wolverine's origin. I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to say as an adaptation, and I said this before, I was going to say as an adaptation, yes, this didn't need to be Taskmaster. They didn't need to call this character Taskmaster. But The red in Black Widow's ledger is she had the same decision Scarface had to make, where Scarface said, "I'm not killing women and children," when he was supposed to kill the diplomat, and she said, "F that. I'm going after the target. I don't care if the kid is there." And she did it. She did what Scarface couldn't. Right.
So in the vacuum, this show.
Hold on. One second. I'll be right there. I promise you. So she did what Scarface was unwilling to do. And this character now, who is basically RoboCop, has come.
Facts.
Hold on. Has come. I'm wearing a cap. But has come back now with a vendetta against her because Black Widow has taken away her life, to me, and using her own moves against her, mirroring her combat style. To me, that is super interesting as a concept.
And then they put a chip in the back of his head, and ruined that idea.
And then took all of that away at the end and said,
"So yeah, it's still
all about the evil Russian Harvey Weinstein." Right? Right. So to me, I understand that, but as a premise, it was very good. And I think it was flawed in its execution. And I did like the car chases and action scenes. It felt big. It felt like it was back in the movies.
Capology, baby.
Yeah,
Capology.
What I was gonna say. Be clear.
Damn.
I said the movie was trash when we reviewed it. Of the Marvel movies, it's one of the worst movies. It's better than I would say Captain Marvel.
It's better than Thor: The Dark World.
Captain Marvel's the worst movie.
I did not enjoy the movie. I pointed out all the stupid
Thor: The Dark World
with it.
Iron Man 2 and Thor: The Dark World are the worst movies.
The movie, but I didn't think it was a good movie. But this is a perfect time to advertise. Get your Everborn caps because Steve is all about the caps. Get that at Everborn.
They're only $19.99 at Everborn.com. Everbornsaga.com.
Oh man!
But anyway, he doesn't even believe that stuff he said. It was not a great movie. It was not a movie that you see.
I didn't say it was great.
I am with Mr. Everborn on this one. I think in a vacuum, if you are just a viewer of film, if you're not a person who has any history with any of these characters, in the context of the movie, they did the job they needed to do. It was a decent film. Yes, when you add all the extras, you're right. No issues there. Taskmaster, all of that. But the film as itself was a good movie. But we're not talking about that. When we put on our multiple hats,
about why it's not doing numbers and why it's flopping.
Right. But no, well, we did talk about that. But the point that I want to bring up is these people with a vested interest in the theater business are trying to force us as the audience to come back to these theaters instead of incentivizing us and allowing us to make that choice. They're artificially trying to force us to go there. So it shouldn't. You should create an environment to where I know I can watch this thing at home, but I want to watch it.
I want to watch it. That's
Instead of doing that, they're trying all of their negative PR campaigns and all of these things and looking at the numbers in skewed ways and leaving things out just because they're trying to save the theater industry that has not been willing to save itself.
Isn't this the same argument we make when we're speaking about console wars and this and that? It's the same thing. There are those who like the way things have always been. It's worked for them. And then there are those who see the future. And the ones who like the way things have always worked for them keep downplaying every advancement that happens. Oh, this is trash. But we know where we're going. Doesn't that sound familiar to you? Come on now. This is exactly what we talk about all the time. It's just a different environment now.
We need to call those things out. And
yes, and you're right.
And Eagles fan, yes, this did set. I think it's very loose on the Hawkeye show, but it did set up a new Black Widow. But again, in the grand scheme of things, did you need a whole movie for that, right?
Yeah, it even opens up other. Yeah. It even opens up other problems because if you fit this canonically into the storyline, how many movies have been made since this movie? Like canonically, at least 3 or 4 more, right?
Something like that.
Where has Taskmaster been since then?
Yeah, but who cares about Taskmaster? Taskmaster.
Okay, where has the new Black Widow been since then? It raises other questions.
it would have been
which is
better.
problematic.
It would have been better subject as a
So
Disney
what now?
Plus
Taskmaster's
show.
a hero now. I don't even give a shit about Taskmaster. Can Taskmaster even talk?
Yeah, but so another thing to Taskmaster, she could talk because at the end she's like, "Did you kill him? Forget about that. You blew me up, and I no longer have a body. I just want to know if
you still think
you
he
don't
has
know
no
that,
body.
Steve.
You don't know that.
She could
You
just
don't
be
know
burned
that.
up. You're
That's
guessing.
right. She could just be wearing a suit, bro. You don't know that for sure.
At no point did they show robot arms or whatever or anything like that.
I watched her get blowed up.
As soon as she took off her mask, it looked like she was wearing hockey pads.
That's right.
She didn't even
It's
look
a chick in a
like
suit.
how it looked cool to me at first. After that, it just looked like she was wearing a baggy suit with hockey pads on it to make her chest look flat. It didn't look good or whatever after that. It looked fake after that to me.
Because you couldn't.
As soon as they revealed it,
you couldn't.
Yeah, once you saw it, you couldn't unsee it.
But the point is, the point is, I just think that these articles and these hit pieces do not take into account the new subscribers that Disney Plus has added to this, the new after the first weekend, the new people that have paid for Premier Access, and the people that it kept subscribed to Disney Plus because they had another item, and they're only looking at this one metric and saying that therefore it's a failure. It is a failure for the theater industry. It is not a failure for the MCU.
And Disney, they did that on purpose specifically. So this is more of a thing of informing the public that, yeah, when you read those things, understand they're trying to fool you. It's not necessarily true.
Right. So again, I said, I didn't say the movie was great. I said it was strong in a vacuum. Right. And I stand by that with the cap on. Okay.
I'm capless and still I agree with you. So there you go.
Now, I want to move on to the next topic, which is Master of the Universe. And this one is for you, Mr. Johnson.
Oh boy.
I want you to tee this one up. Kevin Smith defends his creative choices for the Master of the Universe. There's a lot of controversy going on around that it should have called Tila. I was gonna say She-Man, but that's not the
Tila and the Masters of the Universe.
But the show focuses on Tila, and the reviews are coming in, and people, there's the usual incel crowd that are mad at it, but I think there's bigger issues here in terms of the actually crowd, right? But go ahead, LeVar.
There are mixed reviews.
Come on, man.
There are a lot of mixed reviews. But on Rotten Tomatoes, it has like a 94. But you can't believe reviews. All I'm saying is that at midnight and in about 2.5 hours, I'm going to watch it and I'm going to let y'all know if it's good or not.
I appreciate
what I'm hearing.
Explain the controversy to us.
Well, I find the controversy because as the internet does, they pull up receipts. If Steve, if you could pull it up, like the links that I sent you on Twitter, but people have pulled up footage of Kevin Smith saying he didn't even like He-Man. He thought the thing was stupid. Him saying when it came out and that he watched it all, but he never liked it. And even his colleagues didn't like it and thought it was stupid. So now you're talking about how you made it with love, or is it just a cash grab? I mean, at the end of the day, this whole thing is to sell toys. That's all it's about. But
I don't know that that's fair to call it a cash grab, but continue.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you can say this, just like that last thing you were arguing about.
Hold on, Kay.
Go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
Because of toys, like the toys been out, and even the vehicles in it, they scan the actual toys. Like Mattel is actively, creatively involved in the shooting of the show. They scan the actual toys for the vehicles. This is all about selling toys. But then don't shit on the legacy of what people, love about He-Man in order to push some narrative. I can't judge it yet because I haven't seen it, but from the things that I've heard, people don't like it. And I think something, because I can't back this up with paperwork, but I think people are mad that they killed Man-at-Arms in it. And that I heard that there's no strong male characters. I can't say for sure because I haven't seen it yet. But if you watch the trailer, they don't show Man-at-Arms in the future, you know, and whenever how long the time jump is, you see Tila and whatever. So
absence of evidence is not evidence of absence.
Also,
right? Like,
Kevin Smith himself said that this is a world where characters can die, like main characters can die. So I feel it might be that. And plus, I heard there's no strong male characters in it. But I can't give judgment on it until I see it myself. But from the receipts, if you could pull that up, Steve,
you gotta send it in the Twitter DM because I can't bring it up from the phone.
I sent it in Twitter chat.
Yeah, I can't find it. Send it again if you can, and I'll bring it up.
But go ahead.
Yeah.
What's your opinion, Steve?
So, actually, Slow-Mo, you go ahead. I will be right there. I think I found the receipts. Kay.
Slow-Mo?
Kay, take it away.
Slow-Mo? Indeed, yes. I first off, I appreciate you saying that you can't judge it till you see it, right? And I'm there right now. I have not formulated my idea of this yet because I really do want to see it before I formulate my idea of it. I don't like the fact that the internet gets to start passing judgment before anybody really has seen the thing. Secondly, we also had this conversation not too long ago, even on this show right here, where there's that idea that when we were kids, we were watching one thing, and as you grow, it must also grow and become more complex. So that idea of keeping it exactly as it was also doesn't work well sometimes. Space Jam being a good example of it. It needs to grow and mature with the audience, right? So I think that if we didn't live in this internet world where everybody has to be all about the smoke, you know, to be ready to pass judgment even before they see the context of it, it might surprise people in good ways. I don't know that it will. It might not, right? We still have to wait and see. But they're priming the pump for hate. And obviously, if you're doing that, there's a very, 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 unless this becomes monumentally phenomenal somehow, which it's a cartoon, you know, I don't foresee that really happening. But you know, unless they prime the pump and somehow they magically subvert such expectations that everybody's so amazed, they've basically already gotten the pitchforks out before anybody has seen a single frame of this stuff.
I think that's part of the problem with a lot of this stuff. It's kind of like,
let the man mature the story. He might not, he might say he hates it, right? But he might hate it because he's now talking about it with his adult mind and he wants some complexity there. When we were kids, we didn't see any of that stuff. It was shallow as hell. It was really, really simplistic.
The original show was stupid, but it was stupid and shallow. The 2002 show, that show was good.
But you don't know that he's judging the 2002 show. He could be talking about the OG version, which is where they took all of this from, right? So I agree with you that you know that we need to pass judgment. I would say pump the brakes, breathe on it. Let's wait until we see what's good, because all this just feeds the trolls, and this is just troll behavior, I think. Go ahead.
The internet pulls up the receipts.
Oh, you can't hear this, right?
Turn.
No, we can't hear.
Make sure the sound is on.
No, it's cool. It's cool. So I gotta add the sound. All right, try that again. The joys of live streaming, folks. Okay, how's about this?
Indeed.
Love for He-Man. I know, but I have no love for He-Man either, but he's got a place in the world in a comic book story.
When I was a kid, I'd watch He-Man and Masters of the Universe when I got home from school. From 1981 to 82, it was a ritual.
I'm kind of retarded. I have no love for He-Man.
Yeah, but see, this is the problem.
This is ridiculous. You can pull, when you live on the internet, you can pull and create narratives all you want. Like, this man had to sit down and decide whether he's going to put his name on this thing. You know, you're telling me that thought that then he went and sat with his writer's room and then he built this whole narrative and he came out, all that can be undone by a quick little teeny tiny sign about I have no love for He-Man, back when even before he had his heart attack. Like, that was a million years ago. Like,
yeah, I think, and another thing, and I'm going to come to what my point is. So, you know, he responds to that. He says, you know, he says He-Man does no stepping aside. Teela has a friend who's a girl, not a girlfriend. The story is still dark and metal. Original title was End of the Universe. And so I think the real point is, you do on the one hand want to let a creator tell their story. And I brought up this issue before where it was more about the false advertising, right? They showed us a trailer. Everybody got hyped. You thought it was going to be a He-Man show. Everybody did their thank yous. They accepted those thank yous. And it turns out that's not what the show is going to be. The show is going to be more focused on, based on these reviews, more focused on Teela and her journey. And it has been confirmed by Kevin Smith. Now, does that mean the story will be bad? I have no idea. We are going to find out tomorrow. But coming back to my original question is, should they let the audience should they have let the audience know that up front? Or have they done enough letting you know by now, since this is what we're talking about?
I feel like Kevin Smith from the rip said that it was going to follow Teela, but it's about all the characters. This is just the first chapter. It's only 5 episodes in. The next chapter is going to be 6 episodes. I feel like it's world building, and every episode you see all the characters. But I feel like it's just a story they're telling, and people have to give it time for it to get to whatever.
That's right.
If
there's a mistake
you could
made
make your
here,
He-Man show, make the He-Man show that you want to make the way you want to make it. He's making the He-Man show that he wants to see, and the people, everyone involved, including the people who own the property, this is what they wanted to see. If that's not what they wanted to see, they wouldn't have given it to him to make it. If you watch the interview or the when he was answering the Twitter questions or even the trolls, he was just there like, if this is not what they wanted, they're in this to make money. If they didn't want us to make this, they wouldn't have signed off on it. This is what they wanted.
So to me, the issue here is the internet. The internet, the social media is the problem. And if they have any problem here, if there's any criticism to be levied at them, they should have understood what they were dealing with and adjusted their marketing accordingly. They can subvert expectations. They can give you an ad for He-Man and then surprise you with the Teela story. If this whole Twitter troll stuff was not part of the equation, you sit down, I'm about to rewatch what they're about to make from He-Man, and then within the bowels of the story, they flip it on you, and you're just like blown away. And provided that they do it well, and provided that the story after that is great, you'll keep going on that train. But because we have what we have today, they can take a small piece of that data out, and they weaponize it, and they let it fester in the body politic for ages, and then this thing comes out, and it could potentially be, wow, hey, this is better than we thought. But they're already priming the pump for all the haters, which is so unfortunate, in my opinion. Please, I know you were saying so.
If we are going by Rotten Tomato reviews, it's 95% fresh. So
there you go.
I'll judge it when I see it.
We don't know. It might still be damn good, but everybody's all on this hate
even
because
from
the
the
damn
trailer,
internet.
It is leaps and bounds greater than the original show. The original show was a very shallow thing. It wasn't great. The 2002 remake was much better. But so
when you hear Silent Bob say, "Hey, I wasn't a fan," why are you hating on him? Because the original show wasn't that great either.
The original show used to come on every day. There was like however many hundreds of episodes in the first season because it came on every single day. So it was very shallow. It's every they never even really fought.
So he has every right to say he wasn't a fan of it, right? Do you disagree? He has the right to say he wasn't a fan of it because there's a valid critique to make about that show being very shallow every day. I don't understand why that equals, he lied to everybody. He's a hater because he never liked it. He had a valid critique, in my opinion, because it was a very shallow ass show, and we don't want a shallow recreation of what we thought we loved in elementary school days.
Building the world because they didn't delve into the backstory or even like all the other characters. I feel like you're going to get to see more of these characters and you get more personality from them that you would have ever gotten because of even switching up of teams and like people who weren't allies before being allies. I feel all of that is interesting.
So are we saying that we are all in agreement that the problem here is the internet and people jumping the gun before they see anything?
To the internet.
All right.
So then that's what this is.
On their own merit.
I wanna have some things to say.
Please,
gentlemen.
do you disagree with the narrative? Go for it. Please, go ahead.
Okay, so several things. Firstly, I want to address Rob. This is the other Johnson, right?
I don't.
This
feel
is
like
part one. Is there a problem if Teela saves He-Man in part one and He-Man saves the universe in part two? Yes, it's a problem because the world could end after part one. I need to see what happens. We don't know. All I'm could go by is what we get. Now, let me.
Well, but again, the world could end in part one because all these haters out here trying to make the IP owners change their decision on it. Maybe that's the reason why they don't go for part two. You know, maybe you wait and watch it first before you bring out the pitchforks because the IP owners are watching y'all and what you have to say about it. Just
right, but this is what I'm saying. Maybe they decide. Maybe they're gonna poison the well, and they decide they don't want to make another one. Because
and that's
of the
exactly
audience.
what this is.
And
this
then
is
we will end
well.
with a show where He-Man got to step aside and get saved. So
stop it.
but I digress.
But the show is called
do you think
the Masters of the Universe?
Do you think that Kevin Smith should be so proactive in answering these trolls? Because I feel like he is giving them what they want.
Mm-hmm.
I think he should just not acknowledge them. I know he's a man of the people, but he should just let the show come out and then
speak for itself.
That's because to me, the red flag is not what these people are saying. I don't care that the show is allegedly focused around Teela because I haven't seen it yet. It could be the best adaptation of right. It could be better than anything. One second. But the what gives me pause is Kevin Smith is on the defense force what seems like 24/7, and maybe he's sensitive about his
good guy. You know, he's sensitive. Yes,
but he's Captain Good Guy. Say anything, but go ahead, LeVar. What were you asking me? If you're back, or I can keep going until you get back.
No, he's there.
It's like this. He's trying to control the narrative instead of letting the internet control the narrative.
But I think
as a creative, you would do the same thing if people were trying to shit on your creation before the world got to see it. You're saying all of this, but if it were you, Steve, you would, and it's not like he was responding into a negative.
And you're right, Steve. He could be sensitive about his shit.
And even tonight, after the movie, after it comes out, the following day, they're doing a panel with everybody who was involved on the show on his YouTube, where they're going to discuss the show and like where the show is going. You feel me? It's a broader story that they're trying to tell, and people have to give it time. You understand? It's only 5 episodes.
What was the last thing he did that was this? Like he's Captain Good Guy.
To
exactly.
Him, he said
so he's sensitive about his shit. You're absolutely right. He's very sensitive about this because even though we know him and we've known him for how long now? When has he really been known for his work? This is the most high profile thing he's really done in the zeitgeist in a while, and everybody's already got the pitchforks out. I understand why he's Captain Defend Myself. I get it. You know what I'm saying? He is sensitive. I would be.
I think it could be maybe that this is kind of the first time because it's so high profile. He might be seeing it from everywhere.
He's never done something with a beloved property ever. That's something like Superman or whatever.
But
he used to direct a bunch of episodes of The Flash.
Yeah, but that was when The Flash was good.
Because he said he didn't really do anything. He's like, that's a machine that's set up.
Yeah, he said he just whatever. They already
you're
right with it.
I think I think that this is part of the reason why he didn't want to, with his career, be a part of the big Hollywood machine, and why he makes things where it's his characters, he's in control of them, and he makes basically all independent movies. I think it's because of things like this. But again, I don't want to go by some reviews when I haven't seen it myself.
Indeed.
But if what Grace Randolph is saying and some other people, and I'm only bringing up her because I think she's pretty level-headed across the board when she discusses these things in general.
I disagree, but continue. She likes what she likes. She hates what she hates. and that's not everybody else's bag. I appreciate
Right.
her, but she's not level-headed. She likes what she
But
likes. She hates what she hates.
If
she likes you, you can do no wrong. If she hates you, you're always wrong.
I'm gonna give Kevin Smith the benefit of the doubt until it comes out tomorrow. So I'm not gonna like shit on it. But
comes out in 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Right. If that is the case, right, and there's no strong male characters, and there's this other twist, and it's focused on Tila, and there's a lot of weird vibes, rainbow vibes. That's not weird, but you know what I'm saying. If that is the case, I think you already had a show for that. Which I watched every episode. She-Ra, I watched that with the family, and they love that show. But that's She-Ra. That doesn't need to be He-Man, right? Sure. And that was what She-Ra.
Rainbow Coalition and your He-Man.
No. It's nothing. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if they do it, I don't think that they will do it better than what She-Ra did. I think She-Ra was a great show. I think it was a great adaptation of what they did.
I will give you a bit of credit on that.
And I don't think you need that in Masters of the Universe. Go ahead.
Yeah, I will give you a bit of credit on that. If they do switch it up like that, I think that's a mistake only because He-Man and the Masters of the Universe was always meant as the boys after school show, and She-Ra, as you aptly pointed out, was the Xena to his Hercules. I get that. So if all of a sudden now you're going to make it a Xena story, the people who came there came to see Hercules. So you're just kind of that may be a problem because and the new She-Ra that they've done has taken it in very weird places and interesting places, and I've actually enjoyed it. I watched it. I thought it was really cool what they did with that. But like you said, those who watch the OG, like shallow He-Man, will want to watch this, and they want complexity of this He-Man rather than, oh, we're telling you a completely different story. I'm here for it. Like, I like Kevin Smith. I think he's thoughtful and he does everything he needs to do and he thinks about it. But I do agree with you that if it turns out to be that this is, it's kind of like what they did with I don't know if you've ever watched Avatar: The Last Airbender. Great story. Eventually they kill him off and turn it. The next story is of Korra. Of Korra, right? Yeah. Which was also great, but it turned off a bunch of the OG fan base. And it became a thing, and eventually they cut Korra short and all of that. So needless to say,
mad at that because he got his full story and whatever.
That's right.
But the thing is, I just don't want this to be an exercise in subverting expectations for the sake of subverting expectations. I don't want this to be an exercise in Luke Skywalker tossing over a lightsaber behind his back. That's what I'm afraid of.
Again, even the Luke Skywalker tossing a lightsaber behind his back was for a reason. You didn't like the reason, but it was for a reason.
Yeah, I don't want to not like this. I don't want this to be your parents are nobody, and then they are. But go ahead.
People like to look at things through rose-tinted glasses. Going back to the original show was very cheaply animated. They kept using like the same animations over and over again. Every time he transformed, it was the same animation. The way it was just like a very stupid show. The dialogue was terrible. They never actually really fought using their weapons.
You see the Dolph Lundgren movie? It was awesome.
People get stabbed. Awesome. How you have a sword and you never use it. And so people talk about how great, whatever, that's in your mind. People think about the imagination they had playing with those toys and the stories that they came up with in their head about He-Man and Skeletor and whatever. But this show is called The Masters of the Universe. It's building the whole world and building on the comic book story and the whole mythos of it. People should let it play out and stop shitting on it before it gets to season 2,
I agree.
Let it play out because it might be what you always wanted, but you shit on it early and then it doesn't connect it to that.
I have to judge it by the 5 episodes that they're going to offer me. I don't know if we get a season 2, so that's what I'm gonna go by. But like I say, I'm not down on it. It's just that I know Kevin Smith is like defending his work. I just don't think that he should, because I think he is making it into this thing by responding to these trolls.
Nah, but this whole narrative about it, people have been shitting on it for months.
But people do that in general. That's what they do. That's what the internet does.
I respected his transparency. I watched his whole thing. you can't tell people how to react once, whatever. And I felt like he responded to it in a positive way. He wasn't like
sure, but like Everborn said, and you're right,
whatever.
Like Everborn Steve correctly pointed out,
like when you watch other people and they get yell and they whatever, he was very level-headed about it in his response to it.
Sure. But honestly, this would have been a better response had he waited until the subject matter, like at least an episode was out. 2 episodes are out. So then when you're speaking about it, he can speak on it and you can see his work. Right now, it's all hypothetical and the trolls get to talk because we don't see the product of his work. You know what I mean? And it's making the situation worse. He should just let the trolls fester as they do. And then once the show is out and he can be confident in the subject matter, then he can, come out the mouth and then explain like you were saying. And I agree with you that his explanation and the way he's been working on it, the way he's been promoting it is pretty decent. Even though the trolls are trying to get him down, he's not letting it shake him. It's good. It should have just been after the subject matter is released, because then you see what's going down. And I'm not capping, but that's a really nice cap from Everborn.
Oh no, I was just doing some advertising because apparently I've graduated to the to the captology.
That's what you do, man.
Captology school,
bro. You don't believe half the stuff you're saying.
But again, like I say, let's just not make these changes in perspective for the sake of making them. Let's see, and I will judge it accordingly. In our next show, you'll hear what we have to say about it. Indeed. And maybe I'll live tweet it. Who knows? But it's coming soon, and I give Kevin Smith all the benefits of the doubt.
I'm down to get online and talk about it immediately after watching it in real time, because
we could do a Spaces.
When everybody else will have finished watching it, who's up at that time.
I'm down to do a Twitter Spaces to talk about it.
Let's do a Spaces, yeah, let's do it.
So we will do that. Now, there's just one last thing before we get out of here. I'm not even going to ask you what you're watching, because you're going to watch Masters of the Universe.
Exactly.
We don't need to discuss that. But there is Mr. Nancy or Anansi Boys.
Yes.
From Neil Gaiman's American Gods.
Pull up the picture.
Now, Orlando Bloom was let go from the show for some issues that are sort of well publicized. And the question is, he will not be in this show, but the character is getting his own series. LeVar, this is your topic. Tell us how you feel about it. I don't have much to say, but I know that this was one that you had brought to my attention. So this is all you. Let the people know.
I feel like they blackballed him because of how vocal he was when they put him off of the show. From what I read, it's just they're like the Anansi Boys, like the other director on it wanted to make the characters white, even that far. So I feel like for him to even get it made now, it's just they're like, yeah, we'll make it, but you can't have Orlando in it because of how vocal he was, and they don't want to deal with the angry black man. So
for the record, you know where the story comes from?
Not involved in it now.
You know where the story for the Anansi Boys comes from? Originally Ghanaian, so I know the Anansi Boys. The story, we get told these stories when we're children.
Mr. Nancy,
I have the spider. I have many thoughts on what they're going to do, but my thoughts on it kind of mirror Orlando's thoughts, because when he first came out, his first speech. Did you ever see the first season?
Yeah, he was like, "Use your anger,
man." Oh my God!
They don't want to hear that.
It shook the ground.
With George Floyd and all of that, like that fire, they didn't want black people to get angry.
You saw that scene, right? He literally shows up while they're on a boat, while they're locked up under the boat, and he's talking to them, and he's speaking Tree. I understood them, like when they were talking amongst themselves. They're speaking West African Tree, like I could hear them. It was the most revolutionary thing I'd ever seen on television. And that's the reason why it's not gonna go down. And that's why I'm very worried about this Anansi Boys, because it has to be dumbed down. It has to be.
Well, let me hold on a second, because I think we're over talking each other. But it's Amazon. Yeah. Does it have to be toned down?
No.
Isn't this the same production company that made the other one?
I don't believe it's.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
It was on Stars before.
I will give it the benefit of the doubt because, you know, they are telling a story from my culture, so I have to give it that benefit. I look forward to seeing it. But yeah, the fact that Orlando, who basically made
that role,
yes, and they're leaving him out of it, worries me.
Well, what if, and I'm just putting this out there to both of you, and mostly to you, Kay, because this is more this is, you know, from your home, your origin place. What if the reason for keeping him out is because they want to cast actual Africans? Like they never do. They always cast Americans to play these roles.
Get the hell out of here. He's using my narrative against me. Good job. Yes. Well done, sir. Well done, sir. If that happens, I will be pleasantly surprised. But we both know that ain't going down. And if that's the world we live in, they could easily hire Orlando, who basically made this character his, and then hire the appropriate African actors around him, which would work too. This is not that. They're trying to escape the whole narrative and the whole fear that comes with it. That's what they're trying to do here. They're just trying to make entertainment. We're not trying to ruffle any feathers, even though this subject matter is very feather ruffling. You know, we shall see what they do.
So
I feel like
go ahead.
What Orlando did with the character of Mr. Nancy, his portrayal of it could have riled people up in the way that Birth of a Nation, they thought that would have. You know, they don't want to see revolutionary Black people. They don't want to see another Black Panthers. They don't want to see, you know, like, we're not taking this anymore. Like, if the police did something, we're going after the police who did it. You know, like eye for an eye. They don't want that again. You know, and it's just us defending ourselves. It's not us out there just doing it for nothing, but they don't want that, because anytime it has happened, they made sure to stamp that out. So they don't even want people even thinking that way. So that's why they got rid of that character.
There could be a legal reason. Sure, okay. There you go. Yeah.
So
there could be a legal reason. Yeah.
Now, Kay, I want to well, let me bring up this comment from Robert.
That is a very good point.
Stars and Amazon aren't the same studio. Could there be some legal reasons to not connect this to the previous version?
Very possible. I thought that as well. Because also,
but are we saying, just a quick question for me, are we saying that he made that show still has multiple seasons, they're still going on, it's not a dead show, and now this is a spin-off from that show, but it has nothing to do with that show?
Connection to that at all.
At all?
It just deals with the same characters. So they don't use Orlando to not confuse it with that property, because
so that means that character specifically will not be there. It is because, look, Anansi's stories, like, he turns into multiple. He can change into multiple.
Let me ask LeVar a question. Are we sure that this is? Are we sure that this show is actually connected to Neil Gaiman's story? Because Anansi is separate. Like, he took mythology and melded them into his own story in American Gods. Yeah. And by the way, you should read or listen to Neil Gaiman's Norse mythology. It is amazing.
He is amazing. Yeah.
But my question, you should also read his Sandman and Swamp Thing. But
absolutely, yes.
But or Coraline for that matter, right? That movie. But the question is, LeVar, do you know this? Is this actually a spinoff? Or is it just taking?
It's not a spinoff at all.
This is actually a book. I just looked it up real quick. It was written by Neil Gaiman in September 20th, 2005. It's a book.
Is this based off his book?
It just deals with the Mr. Nancy character,
specifically called Anansi Boys.
It's not Neil Gaiman connected to the American God show.
Then it has to be, because it's the same story. It's the same author who wrote both of them. He would not have written two disparate stories that are not connected at all.
That's not actually what I was asking, right? So the question is, yes, is this Neil Gaiman's Anansi Boys, or is it just Anansi Boys, the mythology?
This is Neil
It's Neil
Gaiman's
Gaiman's.
Anansi Boys.
Okay.
Yes.
And it is based off his spin-off book.
Yeah, check this out real
Not
quick.
necessarily-
Anansi Boys is a fantasy novel by English writer Neil Gaiman. The novel, Mr. Nancy, a reincarnated of a descendant of West African trickster god Anansi. Exactly.
Okay.
That character now taken into Anansi Boys. So
Okay.
possibly his origins or further exploits of, which means Orlando Jones could have played in this thing because it is the same character, either their origin or further exploits of, but it's the same Gaiman's Anansi Boy.
So is Anansi basically the original Loki or not Marvel's Loki, but I'm saying Norse mythology's Loki? Is it like
it's not even Norse? This is West African mythology, but still, yes.
No.
You could say that.
No, when I say Norse mythology, I'm saying as to I don't mean Marvel's Loki. I'm saying
sure. You mean the actual incarnation of
mythology's Loki versus
the
African mythology.
From what I've read with Neil Gaiman, and I've read some of his stuff, and I've also listened to a bunch of his interviews and things. Even though it is kind of like MCUizing the mythology, he does keep almost all of it, including the core mechanics of that mythology. And for those who don't know, yeah, you can say that as far as comparing Loki to Anansi, the Anansi stories. But the difference between Loki and the Anansi stories in general was they're both tricksters, but Anansi usually told the story and tricked you into teaching you a lesson for your greater good. Like ultimately, it was the greater good that would always reel out. Now, doesn't mean that at the end somebody doesn't die or somebody bad doesn't happen to someone, but ultimately, his trickery always comes at the goal of something
there's a moral.
Exactly, it was immoral, and he changes. He can be a spider. There's a lot to it. Whereas obviously Loki was he was id, in that story.
Right. So I think the reason I bring this up because
the show American Gods was based off the book Anansi Boys. They just took the character of Mr. Nancy.
Oh, so American Gods
to that.
American
Gods is more based on Neil Gaiman's actual book.
See, I didn't know that. I thought American Gods was its own.
Let me read this real quick, Steve.
Yeah, because it also has a different.
Let me read this real quick.
Go ahead.
In a blog post about the new series, Gaiman recalled how the idea that would eventually become Mr. Nancy first came on while working on Neverwhere with co-creator Lenny Henry, who also founded the production company behind the series. Though Gaiman initially set it out to write a horror film telling the story about two black brothers whose father was a deity, his ideas were eventually incorporated into American Gods. Mr. Nancy, the novel spin on Anansi, the trickster deity featured in many Ghanaian and Akan folktales. But go ahead.
Yes. But I will tell you, the American Gods book that was written by Neil Gaiman came out in 2001. So even before the TV show, he had the American Gods book, which also featured all those characters as well. So it's not like they just took the Anansi Boys and then put him in the American Gods. He took Anansi Boys, Mr. Nancy from the Anansi Boys and put it in American Gods, the novel, which then later was adapted to a show.
Right, but when did he write Anansi Boys? Did he
Anansi
write it
Boys
before?
Anansi Boys was, I can tell you the date right here, 2005, and American Gods was 2001.
Okay.
See, so he laid the groundwork. It's just the adaptation just took it over and brought it to the screen. They didn't do any additional work there.
Yes.
Okay. So now, Big Bad Mo, what's happening? I saw your post on Twitter. I thank you. He got his Everborn books, which you can get at everbornsaga.com. Shameless plug. But so my thing is, they say that, all religions, really have evolved from one single religion, right? And we all evolved out of Africa. And I'm wondering if the stories of Norse mythology just evolved from the stories that, our ancestors used to share about Anansi.
Yeah, those are things that have been theorized by many theologists that I've actually heard. But that is a debate that goes back and forth because there's always a lot of a lot of key takeaways that are very similar in tone in that. But obviously, as it translates to different cultures, it tweaks a little bit. So now you can actually see some delineation between the various entities, but you can definitely tell where they originated. You know, 2 separate books started. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so he started, and this can happen. I can tell you, this is writing. You start one thing, and then that spurs another idea, and then that completes a thing. I'm dealing with that right now at Everborn, but we'll discuss that later. I started writing the novel before any of the comic books, and then here we are.
Technically, so that we have a full understanding, Anansi Boys that Gaiman wrote is technically called Anansi Boys quote American Gods number 2. So he wrote Anansi Boys as a follow-up to 2001's American Gods. So there you go.
All right. So with that history lesson, do we have anything else on this topic, or can we get out of here since we've hit?
I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, next time we group at some point when I've seen it, I will have good things to say rather than being disappointed that they took my culture and bastardized it. We shall see.
Yeah, there's no announcement on when it's coming out either, so we'll see when it comes out.
It's going to be a while. Okay.
All right, man. So that is it. That's the show. So, Mr. TK Kirkland, tell the fine people listening where they can find you.
Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you guys always coming on and having a spirited debate and chats with us. This is what we enjoy this show. This is why we do this. You can catch myself and Mr. Everborn Saga on Saturday. We try to be at 10, but between 10 and 12, depending on the guest, and we try to accommodate them. But you can keep an eye on my TK0 ASANTE on Twitter, and when that time releases, we will make sure we let you know. That is the Gaming Circle podcast that is coming up this Saturday. We're having some conversations. We potentially will have some guests in the coming weeks as well. So look forward to that. Also, Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and friends. Again, myself and Mr. Everborn Saga can be seen there as well, and that is at 7:00 on Mondays. And obviously, if you're watching this, chances are you know where to find that. But again, when we go live, myself or Mr. Everborn Saga will be promoting that on our Twitter. So please follow us, subscribe. If you follow me, I follow you back, and appreciate y'all being a part of this. Thank you so much, Mr. LeVar Johnson. How about you?
You can find me at LeVar F. Johnson on all platforms, on your Twitters, on your YouTubes, on your Facebooks, on your Instagrams.
I went on MySpace. I tried to find you. I couldn't find you, man. What happened?
Oh, man.
It was everywhere.
I think that's still up. I never deleted my profile.
I'm just messing with you, bro.
You gotta get him on GeoCities. All right,
GeoCities, indeed.
You can find me at Everborn Saga everywhere. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Xbox, PlayStation, Steam. You name it. Type in Everborn Saga, and I will run up on you and take $5 out of your wallet. But most importantly, check out everbornsaga.com where you can get Everborn caps. But you can also get up to date on the Everborn Saga itself. We just released Ariel's Adventure Chapter 1. Everyone from the Kickstarter has gotten their rewards, it seems. I appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate everybody sharing out that they got the books. It really helps. So everbornsaga.com, you can get merchandise. You can get up to date with the books and check out what we got going on. And we can have a big announcement coming soon. Also, we will be at Comic-Con, so that's a very big deal. If you're in New York, you can come check us out. And that is it, folks. Gaming Circle podcast on Saturday, and Primetime Gaming on Monday, and every Thursday here at 8. And with that, my friends, we are
that's all, folks.
out of here.